This is the manual muscle test for extensor carpi radialis longus. The origin is the lateral epicondyle, and the insertion is the base of the second metacarpal, and the action is wrist extension and radial deviation. And to do this test, you want to stabilize and then pull them back in. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. And test bilaterally. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. And this is a manual muscle test for extensor carpi radialis brevis. Origin is the common extensor tendon, and the insertion is the base of the third metacarpal. And the action is wrist extension. Now we go to wrist extension. You want to make sure they're leaning forward. So lean forward. And then you're going to stabilize and pull down. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And relax. And just bilaterally. And ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And relax. Alright, this is the manual muscle test for extensor carpi ulnaris. The origin is the common extensor tendon, and the insertion is the base of the fifth metacarpal, and the action is wrist extension and ulnar deviation. And so you want to stabilize and pull them back into neutral. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. Test bilaterally. Stabilize. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And relax.
This is the manual muscle test for the flexor carpi ulnaris. Its origin is the medial epicondyle, the posterior ulna, and the olecranon fossa, and the insertion is the pisiform hamate and the base of the fifth metacarpal, and its action is wrist flexion and ulnar deviation. So we're going to have the patient make a fist, flex, and ulnar deviate, and you're going to push them into extension and neutral. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. Compare bilaterally. Ulnar deviation. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. This is the palmaris longus manual muscle test. Its origin is the medial epicondyle, and its insertion is palmar aponeurosis, and the action is wrist flexion. And not everyone has it, but you can tell if they have it if they go into wrist flexion and they put their thumb to their pinky, so opposition, and you'll see a tendon pop up. So we test this by having them go into opposition, and we're going to try to break them apart. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. Switch sides. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. This is the flexor carpi radialis manual muscle test. The origin is the medial epicondyle. It inserts the base of the second and the third metacarpals on the side, and its action is wrist flexion and radial deviation. We're going to have the patient go into wrist flexion, radial deviation, and we're going to try to force them back into extension and neutral. Ready? Don't let me break you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. Switch sides. Radial deviation. Wrist flexion. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. This is the extensor digitorum manual muscle test. Its origin is the common extensor tendon, which is on the lateral epicondyle, and it inserts the base of the middle phalanges and extensor expansion of the fourth fingers. And its action is PIP extension of 4 fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, and MP extension of 4 fingers. So we're going to have them go like a piano key, and we're going to push them into flexion. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. Now compare bilaterally. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. Okay, this is the manual muscle test for the extensor indices. The origin is the posterior ulna and the interosseous membrane, and the insertion is the extensor expansion of the index finger, and its action is metacarpal phalangeal or MP extension of second digit. So this one. So we're going to have them here and hold down. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. And then extensor digiti minimi is just like the extensor digitorum, except you're isolating the fifth finger, and it's specifically PIP and MP extension of the fifth finger. Its origin is common extensor tendon, and it inserts the extensor expansion of the fifth finger. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, relax. And then compare bilaterally for both of those. So you have the second one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, relax. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, relax. This is the flexor digiti minimi manual muscle test. The origin is the hook of hamate bone and the flexor retinaculum. Its insertion is the base of the proximal phalanx of the little finger on the ulnar side. And its action is flexes the MP joint of the little finger and assists in the opposition towards the thumb. So we're going to have the patient with their pinky flex like this. We're going to try to push them into extension. Ready? Relax. Go up like this. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. Compare bilaterally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax.
Okay, this is the flexor digitorum superioris manual muscle test. The origin is the medial epicondyle conoid process, anterior oblique line of radius. The insertion is the side of shafts of the middle phalanx of 2 through 5, and the action is PIP flexion and MP flexion and wrist flexion. And so you want to stabilize down here, and then you want to pull. You want to do one finger at a time. You want to just pull down. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 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 relax. Here's the flexor digitorum profundus manual muscle test. The origin is the anterior ulnar and the interaneous membrane. The insertion is the base of the distal phalanges, 2 through 5, and the action is DIP flexion, PIP flexion, MP flexion, and wrist flexion. So you're going to stabilize the hand, and then you're going to go one finger at a time. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, relax. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and relax. And you will test.
Okay, so the muscle we're going to look at is the adductor pollicis. It originates on the capitate bone and base of the second and third metacarpal and the base of the thumb, and it's responsible for abducting the thumb. So the main muscle test, I'm just going to have her resist me pulling it out. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then compare bilaterally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
This is the manual muscle test for the flexor pollicis longus. It originates on the anterior surface of the radius below the tuberosity, the interosseous membrane, and the medial border of the coronoid process of the ulna. And it inserts on the base of the distal phalanx of the thumb. And its action is flexes the IP joints of the thumb and assists in flexion of the MC joint and the CMC joint, and it may also assist in the flexion of the wrist. So we're going to have the patient like this, and we're going to pull them way into extension. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax and compare bilaterally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. This is the manual muscle test for the flexor pollicis brevis. It originates in the flexor retinaculum in the trapezius bone and the capitate bones, and it inserts on the base of the proximal phalanx of the thumb, and its action is flexes the thumb. So we're going to have the athlete like this, and we're going to relax. We're going to have our finger below because it's the shorter muscle. Ready? Hold on, go like that. Don't let me break you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax and compare bilaterally. Relax. Yep. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. This is the extensor pollicis longus. It originates the middle 1/3 posterior surface of the ulna, distal to the origin of the abductor pollicis longus and the interosseous membrane, and it inserts on the distal phalanx of the thumb. And its action is extend the thumb in the MP joint and the carpometacarpal joints of the thumb, and an assist in abduction and extension of the wrist. So we're going to have the athlete extend their thumb, and we're going to hold them, and we're just going to push them into flexion. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax, compare bilaterally. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax. This is the extensor policy breakfast manual muscle test. It originates the posterior surface of the radius and the interosseous membrane, and it inserts on the base of the proximal phalanx of the thumb. Its action is to extend the metacarpal phalangeal joint of the thumb, extends and abducts the carpometacarpal joint, and an assists in abduction and radial deviation of the wrist. So it's like the same for the extensor pollicis longus, except you're going to be going from down here since it's a shorter muscle. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax, compare bilaterally, extend, push them into flexion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax.
I looked at it, so.
This is the manual muscle test for the abductor pollicis longus. It originates the posterior surface of the ulna, the interosseous membrane, and the posterior surface of the middle 1/3 body of the radius. Here, and it inserts the base of the first metacarpal bone on the radial side. Its action is to abduct and extend the carpometacarpal joint of the thumb, and abducts and assists in flexing the wrist. So we're going to have the athlete in relaxed neutral position, and then we are going to test them, or try to push them into a deduction. Ready? Don't let me break you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax, compare bilaterally. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Relax.